Good evening. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Inform the public we are returning from an executive session. Has the board had a chance to review our minutes from the last meeting?
I have, and I move to accept the minutes as printed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. Department heads, Chief.
Good evening. Activity report for the month of June. Fire incidents, fires, MVAs, investigations, public assist were 107. Ambulance, medical emergencies, MVAs, and public assist 205. Miscellaneous, inspections, fire alarm work, item of note 136. Mutual aid, fire, and ambulance, mutual aid calls 32 ambulance given, 3 ambulance received, 4 fire given, 3 fire received. Total incidents, 6/30 of 2015 were 1,490. 6/30, 2016 is 1,469, difference of 21. Line of duty shifts, 4 men for 554 hours, 6 shifts, 1 man for 14 hours. Medical report. Lieutenant Mansfield has been cleared and has returned to full-time duty as of July 1st. Firefighter Patrick Flanagan, line of duty. Patrick is continuing his PT twice a week and has a follow-up appointment with the doctor on July 18th, 2016. See how his progress is. Patrick will possibly be out until November. Lieutenant Johnson, Pat had another follow-up appointment on June 21st, 2016. At that time, they injected his shoulder with a cortisone shot and is still having him continue his PT twice a week for the next 6 weeks. He has a follow-up appointment on August 9th. He'll be out at least another 5 months. Now, talking to Barrett, he wished he could come back yesterday, but it's not going to happen. But he seems to think he's going to be, maybe, if everything keeps healing the way it is, before then, so that'd be good. Less than 5 months. Captain Civita, line of duty. Brian has had his surgery on June 27th, 2016. Due to the nature of the injury and the surgery that was involved, recovery time will be 4 to 6 months. He has an appointment on July 12th, which was today. They put him in a cast, and at that time, the doctor will remove the stitches, and then he'll be in a cast for about 4 weeks. And that's my report. One other thing, I was able to return approximately $74,000 to the general fund from my budget. I didn't have to use all the money for my overtime and fill-in shifts due to insurance and brush. We didn't hardly have any brush fire season, so put some of it back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Dave Flaherty isn't here, but we can't get to the hearings for another minute. We do have correspondence from his department. We have a letter of resignation, retirement from Lou Bousquet, effective July 11th, that on the advice of his physician and based on his health status, he will not be returning to his duties. Entertain a motion to accept with regret.
I certainly do accept it with definite regret. Lou has been an asset to that board ever since he joined it, and I'm sorry to hear that he's not up to snuff.
Second.
I do accept it.
Motion to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is accepted with regret. We have no appointments this evening. New business, Ms. Roberts.
I have nothing.
Mrs. Smith. Okay, old business, Ms. Roberts.
I believe we want to, Mrs. Smith and myself, we would like to, I think you have something ready. Do you want to say it for the machines?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Oh, all right. A couple of weeks ago, we had a motion before the board to deny a permit for the name of those machines quick.
Kiosks. gaming
kiosk
kiosks.
machines, okay? And after careful consideration and conferring with town council, I'd like to change that motion to allow the machines, as they do not require any money to be used to play. It is not, as far as I understand, considered gambling. What I do want to do is add to my motion that you must be 18 years of old or older to play, and limit machines to 2 permits per establishment.
Okay. I think, Mrs. Smith, what we'll do is I'll first entertain a motion to reconsider the vote from 2 weeks ago that denied the request from Attorney Fagan on behalf of the applicant. We'll do that as the first vote. I'll entertain that.
That's my first motion.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And that's a unanimous vote for the record. The second motion I would entertain is to approve the applicant's request with conditions that you've outlined,
Conditions.
which is, number 1, 18 and older,
Correct.
and 2,
Permits per establishment.
Yes.
Because each machine would need a
a separate
permit.
permit, correct. So that's a motion.
That would be a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is approved, and please note that's also unanimous.
And I'd like to make a little statement, if I may, sir.
Please.
Okay. The reason for the change of heart on my part, because I made the original motion, was we did further investigation on it, and I find that I was under the impression that you needed to constantly put money into these machines to play them. And I have been told that is not true, so I was given misinformation regarding that. And I just want to be fair to the applicant of the machines, okay?
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comment on that?
No, that's all I'll leave it.
Good, thank you. We can now get into our first hearing of the evening, and that completes new business. Our first hearing is the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 12th at 7:05 PM at the Veterans Memorial Town Hall, 558 South Main Street, Rainham, Mass. On the application of AEA Spirits Incorporated, DBA Dubuqua's Wine and Liquors, and I apologize for my pronunciation, but Ayushi Patel, manager, for the transfer of an alcoholic beverage package to a license at 600 South Street West in Rainham. All interested parties will be heard at this time, and that hearing is called to order at 7:06 PM, and we'll first turn it over to the applicant. Can you please state your name and relationship for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Gregory DeMarcus. I'm an attorney for Lynn. I represent the applicant AEA Spirits Inc. You pronounced the name perfectly. Ayushi Patel, she's the proposed manager. She's here. The owner is Himanshu Patel. He's also here. He's a 100% owner. We've set up a corporation called AEA Spirits Inc. As I said, he's the 100% owner. He's the director. He's an American citizen. And he's the sole president, he's the officer, treasurer, he's all of the officers. We've entered into a purchase and sale agreement to purchase Dubuqua's Wine and Spirits at 16 South Street West from Dubuque Wine and Spirits, Inc. It's going to be financed in large part by a loan from Blue Hills Bank and a line of credit from Blue Hills Bank. Blue Hills Bank, as a result, is asking for the board to approve an application for the pledge of the license to secure that loan. Let me say a few words about the owner and the manager. Himanshu Patel owns another liquor store known as Macy's Beachway Liquors and Wine in North Weymouth, which is probably does greater volume even than Dubuque's. So there's 15 employees at Dubuque's. They're going to keep the same operation. Most of the employees will remain there, the same hours, the same name, the same type of operation. It's a well-run store. Ayushi Patel, as young as she is, she's a graduate of Gannon College in Pennsylvania. She also, from 2010 to 2013, worked at a store in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania, Way to Go. Since 2013, she's worked at, and she's the store in Weymouth. She's tip certified. She's an impressive young woman. She's very knowledgeable in this type of a store. I asked her if she's going to work 40 hours there, and she laughed at me. That's like a vacation. So I think you're going to, these people are going to be wonderful, I think, for the town of Raynham. I think they're going to do a wonderful job. They're going to be a credit to the community. They're very, very good operators. And so today we ask that the application for transfer of the license be approved, that the application for the appointment of manager of Ayushi Patel be approved, and the application for the pledge of the license to Blue Hills Bank also be approved.
Thank you. Do I have any questions from the board for the applicant before I go to the public?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Does anybody here from the public wish to speak on behalf of the applicant? Against the applicant? Seeing none, I just have a few quick comments. I'm not aware of any violations at the Weymouth location. Can you confirm that to be accurate?
I think there was one.
One? Okay. And how long ago?
I think that was really a few months ago in March.
Okay.
March of 2015, I'm sorry.
Okay. And can you give us the circumstances around that, because that didn't get reported to us?
Sure, I can speak to that. My name is Himanshu, and so we had a new hire at the store, and she didn't ask for the ID, and that was caught. We have a system that, if you put the ID in, it tells whether it's fake or not, but she simply didn't ask for the ID.
Okay. And what action did you take from that point to prevent a similar instance from occurring?
So we now have our frontline or the cashier's manager looking out for and making sure that, the new hires are trained.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, they keep an eye out for it. Their responsibility to check. Very similar to what we are thinking about in Dubuquas.
Okay, good. I would just add the spiel that I give for every one of these is that we take this extremely seriously here in Rainham. We regularly conduct our own sting operations. Our policy has always been a mandatory suspension for any violation, so I want to make sure that you hear us loud and clear on that when we say zero tolerance, it's zero tolerance. And I might also suggest you talk to Mr. Carp before the handover, because he's been, in my opinion, an exemplary owner who genuinely understands what it means to do business in my town, and I can tell you I personally appreciate that, because, again, we have zero tolerance for selling to minors. So any wisdom he can give you before he departs, I would take that with open arms and maybe give him a good bottle on his way out.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's his store, right?
Yes. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request by the applicant.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Those are approved. Thank you. Okay, we have another hearing on the docket this evening, scheduled for 7:10 p.m. The Board of Selectmen will hold a hearing on Tuesday, July 12th at 7:10 p.m. at Town Hall, 558 South Main Street, Rainham, Mass. On an application for a kennel license. Please be sure to attend in case there are any questions. Abutters will be notified. And that is to Joe and Diane Cautel. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? Sir, can you attend the podium, please? Could you state your name and address for the record?
Joe Cattell, 45 Prospect Hill Street, Rainham.
Thank you. Mr. Cattell, is there anything you'd like to add so the board is aware of it to your application?
Well, we filed the application because we have 4 Belgian Taverns. My wife trains them, shows them. They're not your regular dogs. They've got titles in showmanship, herding, agility, obedience. That's what my wife does. She's a dog groomer by trade. And that's why we're asking for a kennel license, because we have 4 right now. And we do have litters every once in a while, but we are active trainer. She's an active trainer. The dogs live right with us. They don't live in kennels or crates or anything. They get more room on the bed than I do. Okay, they get a better diet than I do.
Understood.
And I know the dog office is here, but he came out to see our property, and he can attest that we have nothing that's they're not created. They're free range in our house. They live right with us.
Okay. Thank
Anything else? All right.
Good?
Yep.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Cattell? None?
Okay.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to, well, actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. First, is there anybody here to speak on behalf of the applicant? Ma'am, if you could go to the podium. Could you state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Brenda Easter, 501 Prospect Hill Street. I'm their neighbor.
Okay.
I have no problem with this. The dogs are well cared for, and they don't bother us at all.
Great, thank you. Anybody else here to speak on behalf of the applicant? Is there anybody here to speak against the applicant? Sir? Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Richard Peters, 499 Prospect Hill Street. I'm in the butter.
Okay.
The dogs there not bark very often. It's a country setting. I think everything would be fine. We have no objection
Good.
to the
Thank
kennel.
you for that. Last call for comment. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion from the board.
Having read all the application also, and they have 5 acres of land there? They have
Yes,
5
ma'am.
acres of land there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I move to accept.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That is approved. Thank you.
very much.
Okay. We have another hearing, but legally, we can't start that for 4 minutes. Is there any other old business to come before us this evening? No. Town Administrator's Report, Mr. Buckner.
Very briefly tonight, Mr. Chairman, summer schedule, no selectmen's meeting next week. On the new jail cells, the contractor has submitted a preliminary construction schedule. Construction will not begin until mid-August because of a delay in getting the specialized equipment. Finish date is mid-October. And then upcoming next selectmen's meeting, July 26th, we have 2 department heads, Chief Donovan and Tim Anasio.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions for Randy? None. Great. Selectmen's Report, Ms. Roberts. Good. Ms. Smith, all set?
Yep.
Okay, correspondence. We have correspondence from the Board of Health and from our fire chief regarding a distressed property on King Street in Rainham. It's communication to the occupant of the property requesting remediation. There's no action that's needed on behalf of the board right now. It's just some information for us to keep updated on. We have a request from Laurie Bishop to join the Rainham Cultural Council, and Randy, can you confirm that she's been recommended by the Cultural Council?
She has.
Okay, and we also have a request from Stacy Chisholm to join the Cultural Council, and like Ms. Bishop has the recommendation of the chairman, I'd entertain a motion to make appointments for both of these individuals.
Right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is approved. We have correspondence from Josh Freeman of Michael Road, letting us know of his interest to be on the cable board. I would entertain a motion to forward to the cable board.
Please do.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is approved. And we had correspondence from Mr. Newton, but it's not in here. Mr. Newton, well, I can go from memory, Randy. Thank you. I want to make sure Mr. Newton is adequately represented by this. Dear Selectmen, it is with regret that I submit my resignation as a member of the Rainham Board of Appeals due to illness of family health. I will be moving from the area this month and will no longer be able to serve on the board. It has been my honor to be a member of the Board of Appeals for 52 years, and I will miss my involvement with the board in the town of Rainham, Robert Newton. And I think we always like to offer a resignation with regret, but personally, I've known Bob for a long time, and he is sincerely one of a kind.
He certainly is. And he will be missed because he led that board
Yes.
for those
52 years, yeah, so,
But I'm sorry, I accept with definite regret.
thank you.
Thank you for all his service, too. I hope we can send him something, maybe? or
Sure,
some
we can
letters.
have Randy type something up for him. Is that a second? All in favor? All right, with regret, thank you for that. And we are now at the time where we can get into our next hearing of the evening. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 157, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing regarding the disposition of your dog on Tuesday, July 12th at 7:20 p.m. at Rainham Town Hall, 558 South Main Street, Rainham, Mass. The hearing will address concerns with an incident on June 22nd, 2016, as detailed in the attached police report, and further detailed in the attached email from our Animal Control Officer, Adam Perry. If your dog is deemed dangerous, the consequences could be serious for the dog. Therefore, you must attend, and you may also have a representative with you present. This is a extremely formal hearing. and we have protocols that we have to follow. I'd advise not only those in attendance, but also those at home, that we are represented here this evening by Town Council Attorney Ted Peetnick. And what I'm going to do is first open the hearing promptly at 7:20 p.m. and turn it over for a minute to our Animal Control Officer, Adam Perry, if you want to expound upon the report you provided us.
May I suggest you swear him in?
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Counselor. Again, I was advised that we have protocols to follow. Adam, I'm going to ask you first to state your name and address for the record and your position.
My name is Adam Perry, 397 Robinson Street. I'm the Animal Control Officer.
Thank you. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, you are sworn in. Thank you. Please begin.
All right, I'll read my email. I'm writing about an incident on Wednesday, June 22nd, 2016, involving a dog attack that took place at 181 Prospect Hill Street in Rainham. The dog is a mostly black and white pit bull, a little over a year old, and owned by Brian Zaccali of 211 Prospect Hill Street, Rainham. The dog escaped out of the owner's house and entered the yard at 181 Prospect Hill Street, where the pit bull initially went after a chicken before biting Jason McGrath of 181 Prospect Hill Street in the hand, and also his 7-year-old son in both hands. The dog owner's stepfather came over to apprehend the dog and was bit in the face while attempting to control the dog. Rainham Police, Fire, and Animal Control were called to the scene. The pit bull was then transported to the Lakeville Animal Shelter for a 10-day quarantine. The pit bull was biting and fighting the rabies pole while bringing him into the shelter. While at the shelter, the dog continues to be aggressive by growling and baring teeth at anybody who walks by, and the staff has had to put a board up to avoid the dog from having any contact with anybody. No contact with the dog. I believe it's in the town's best interest to have a hearing with the dog owner and determine the appropriate action to take regards to the dog. Nobody was seriously injured in the attack, but it could have been worse. The pit bull is not licensed in Rainham, and Brian has not been able to provide documentation of rabies vaccination, which he has since brought to us.
Any questions at this time for Adam, and he'll stay with us throughout the hearing if there's anything that we have to ask him.
No.
Okay. We'll enter in not only Adam's verbal report, but his written report, and also the police report from Patrolman Fallow for the record. We'll now recognize the owner of the dog, if he is present this evening, Brian Selasky. Brian? Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yep, Brian Sockeye, 211 Prospect Hill Street, Rainham.
Okay, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
You're sworn in. Brian, if you'd like to take a few minutes and talk about the incident and anything else that you think might be helpful to this board in making a determination.
I got home from work. I get home at work at 5 o'clock, or 5 to 5:30. I work 45 hours a week. I got home, my dad, he's an alcoholic, currently in detox. He left 2 or 3 days after the incident happened. I got home, he couldn't drive. My sisters get dropped off at my grandmother's house down the street, so I had to drive and pick them up because he was already drunk. When I got them, came home, and when I got home, I thought my dad was upstairs, dropped my sisters off. Was going to go to my friend's house, but didn't even make it there. I got called home, came home. Apparently my dog went after the chickens because I wasn't really home to see the incident happen or what happened, but my dog went over there. And I wasn't really too sure what happened, but they had the dog was fine. Kid made a fast movement, and his dad dropped the leash and he got the kid somehow. I don't know. I'm really not too sure what happened.
Okay.
And he's good with kids. I have pictures to prove that he's good with kids, but my dad was very intoxicated, so I couldn't really even hear the story.
Okay. Is any other comments you wish to add at this time?
The reason why he also got hit with a bat, so that was not in the report.
Who did?
My dog. So that could be why he's being very aggressive in the cage at the animal shelter.
Okay.
Who hit the dog with the bat?
Well, they were trying to stop the dog, and
Who was trying?
I'm sorry, I'm a little deaf, I really can't hear.
The question.
He has hearing aids. He doesn't have a hearing aid then.
Okay. The question is, one, who hit your dog, And where did this occur? Was it at the incident?
It was at the incident, yes.
Okay, and who hit the dog?
I'm really not sure.
How'd you hear that the dog was hit? You, okay, we'll get to you in a minute. Any other questions for Brian?
Has the dog ever done anything like this before?
Never. But a week before, my dad also let the dog loose, and it went and grabbed one of their chickens. And that was the first time he realized that there was chickens next door, and I guess that's why I went over there. I really don't know.
How long have you had the dog?
Since a year and a half,
A year and a half you've had him?
almost a year and a half.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Brian, if you want to just hold tight for a minute, is there anybody else here who would like to speak on behalf of Brian?
Can I'm his mother, can I just say something?
Yeah, just please state your name and address, and then I have to swear you in.
Can I sit down?
Yeah, you can sit down.
I'm Kim Pelez, 211 Prospect Hill Street, Rainham.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You're sworn in.
I just want to say, he's still a puppy, he's a little over a year old. No, there's never been another incident like this. I have two young girls, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. The dog's awesome. I wasn't there, Kim wasn't there either. Her husband and my drunk husband, who let him out, was there. There's never been an incident. He was hit after the fact, and I understand why. They felt the need to hit him with a baseball bat and do whatever, they were scared or whatever, which is probably, if I was a 1.5-year-old puppy and then I was at animal control in a cage with somebody with a big rabies pole going after me, I'd probably be growling and stuff too if I was hit with a baseball bat. I'm sure he's a little scared. That's all. There's never been an incident. I have tons of pictures that we brought, if you even care to look at them, that shows a good puppy, not a monster that I feel was presented in that report.
Well, this is your hearing, so anything you want to submit to us, you're entitled to do so.
Okay.
So that would be my advice to you.
And my son's friends are here, and, Kim, I understand why. Kim my neighbor, doesn't want the dog back, and it's probably a good idea if he doesn't come back, But they're willing to they love the dog, and they're willing to take it. So I don't know if that gets brought up now, or if that's not even an issue right now.
Okay. Any questions?
Where do they live? You're saying they're willing
They live in Taunton.
to take... Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak on behalf of the owner? Anybody here who would like to speak against the owner and the dog? Ma'am? Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, Kim McGrath, 181 Prospect Hill Street, Rainham.
Thank you. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I wasn't there as well. I was on my way home from work when our other neighbor had called me and told me not to worry, that Jay and Jason were okay, my son and my husband, and, not to panic, that everybody was okay. So when I got there, animal control was there, police officers were there, an ambulance, and just my understanding of the story was that the dog came into the yard. My husband was able to the dog has a longer leash, was able to step on the leash, get the dog was fine, and then his father came over, had the dog on the leash, was actually just speaking with my husband for a few minutes. What happened next, I'm kind of unsure of. My son my husband sent my son to go into the house to get a towel or something, and as soon as he turned to run, the dog hopped on top of him, bit his wrist, and then my husband said it looked like he was going, right for him again, really aggressively. So my husband then got the dog away from my son. In the meantime, he was bit in the hand. A pretty good puncture wound, but nothing, didn't involve any hospital, trips or anything like that. My neighbor, our neighbor that lives in between us, then heard the commotion, came around to the side of the house. In that time frame, my husband was able to get my son safely into the house and had asked the neighbor, go inside, check on JJ. She's a registered nurse that lives next door to us. Go inside, check on JJ, and call the police right away. And in the meantime, the dad, Brian's father, was outside, pretty much wrestling with the dog, and this is when the dog was attacking him, screaming for my for my husband to come and help him. And that's when my husband grabbed a baseball bat, just to protect himself, to keep the dog at a distance. I don't know how much force was used. I was not there. But I do know that it was just in defense of the dog, that he just couldn't stop. But again, I think this has affected my husband a little bit more than my son. He seems to be okay. But my husband's really nervous about letting him outside to play, especially by himself. If he was out there by himself that day, what would have happened, or if it was me there. So I do request that the dog don't come back to our neighborhood. If they do have an owner that would be able to care for the dog and provide it the environment it needs, I would be behind that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
How severe was your son's injuries?
I have pictures. He was bit on the wrist, had some scrapes and a bite mark on the wrist, but
Stitches, anything like
no,
that?
nothing that. They checked him out at the scene. Again, my neighbor, who's a nurse, she said it looked like it was just kind of flesh, so he didn't require any. He did see his pediatrician on Monday, but he said it looked fine.
Thank you.
That's when Animal Control had contacted me and said they hadn't received the rabies paperwork, so I just want to make sure he, looked okay.
Sure. Mrs. Smith?
Thank you.
You said you had pictures?
I do of my son's arm. Would you like to see it?
Sure, and if you want to turn in any of yours, I think now would be a good time. Counselor, while we're getting pictures, or is there anything that you feel we're missing right now?
I actually think that as a result of maybe a potential lawsuit, we should go into executive session to discuss this briefly.
Okay. Thank you.
This is my son's wrist. Would you like?
Yeah, please.
This is the only one I took, and it's just of his wrist.
Thank you.
Based on advice of counsel, I entertain a motion for a brief recess for the purposes of an executive session, and we'll return in approximately 5 minutes, at which point the public will be welcome back in.
Please, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.